Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Oh, do we have a show for you people? I am excited today because we have Hillary Blair. She is CEO, CSP, speaker, leadership coach, group facilitator, and she weaves her professional acting experience into programs for corporate teams and individuals to elevate their presence, communication, and connection. And boy, do we need all of those today. So she's a certified in conversational intelligence, CIQ, and she'll tell us more about that, and culture talk, and trained in ORSC, Organizational Relationship Systems Coach. And she approaches coaching from a holistic systems perspective. So welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Excellent.
So I just came from, I was speaking at the New York State SHRM event. And, you know, civility is a big topic with SHRM, with HR about civility. And I think if we're going to talk about conversations, we could talk a little bit about the incivility, because people, especially when they write you an email or a text, or they put something on social media, I don't know where their filter goes, but they treat people like dirt. What's up with that?
Great. So I'm careful of the word civility already. I'm aware of words. Words create worlds, not my quote. That's a quote we quote all the time, right?
I love that. Actually, words have energy and direction.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Right? So civility feels like, for me, a fancy word for being polite. Now, I don't have the intention, right? What our intention is versus what our landing is. So I love the intention behind, can we bring more civility? Can we be civil? All of that into our world. My concern, and this is what we work on with our groups, is that if civility gets likened or equated to being polite, I believe that polite puts a wall between you and me. I believe that polite takes care of me, not our relationship. It's about self, not us. And so polite,
That's interesting.
Polite is.
Wait, I want to stop you there, because you're saying, because a lot of people think polite is for you. I'm being polite for you. So you're saying I'm being polite for me, to protect me.
Yeah.
From being authentic or exposing myself emotionally, or
being in connection. We often say, I don't want to make you feel badly, or I don't want to make you feel out of sorts. Like, let's say you're buttoned wrong. Let's be totally silly, right? So you're buttoned wrong. I'm not going to tell you because that'll make you uncomfortable. Honestly, no, your buttons are just great. That sense of, if I'm really talking about that, if I'm really taking care of you, I'd either go, hey, I just want to tell you one quick thing. You're buttoned wrong. It's a silly example. And the idea is, if I'm taking care of you, if I'm honoring you, I want you to know. If I'm concerned and hear myself say, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, I'm usually honestly taking care of myself. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. We're big into rocking our awkward. I'm really good at rocking my awkward, and I invite others to rock their awkward.
Well, I'm a very direct person, and sometimes people don't like that. But, you know, I like when people are direct with me. And you know, I had one of those situations. I was walking onto stage and my zipper was down, and I'm really glad that the person who was on AV, who had just sort of hooked me up, was like, hey, your zipper's down. I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because that would have been embarrassing for me to stand there for 60 minutes in front of everybody with my zipper open, right?
Because no one would have told you, because they were being polite.
They were being polite. I get it. I get it. I don't like to be polite either. Screw that.
So we want to be kind and honoring, though. And there are places for polite, right? So there are definitely places we need it. We don't want to throw it out. We're not getting rid of it. It's just that we are over-indexing on it. I joke that I over-index on saying over-index, so you'll hear me say that. So we're over-indexing. So we're going so far into polite that we're not actually in relationship. And so when you say you like to be direct, then my question is, then are you being kindly direct, or are you using direct to cover the fact that you're just monologuing at people? Because sometimes we're not in dialogue, we're monologuing, so direct gets used to cover a lot of situations. And tone matters, right? There are all these studies on tone. And so if I tell you your fly's down, it's different than, hey, your fly's down, right? It's like, even what, like your fly's down, even that silly thing. One has like,
Your
like
fly
totally your fly's down. Yeah. And I know this is now a weird discussion to be having on the podcast, but that sense of what tone we use reaches the listener before the words do. And I know it's fraction of a second. And that matters. So we often are so into parsing our words, being really careful with our words. I work with a lot of attorneys and they have to be super careful with their words. And then to remind them that it actually matters also how you say them.
Yeah, of course.
Is huge. And, it goes right back, Penny, to the thing that I can't argue intention. I have to take ownership for how it lands, right? So, I can argue intention, understanding that that's not the key thing. What matters is how it lands on you. And I can examine my intention. So direct, polite, all those things, how we use them, for me, is all about relationship. It's all about, how do I stay in relationship with you? Let's say that I'm even on a virtual setting right now, right? So we're on a Zoom setting. So I'm looking at my camera. So I'm giving you another example of it. I'm looking at my camera so you feel like I'm looking at you. Mm-hmm. Completely manufactured, right? You're down here. I'd like to look at you. But I'm talking to the camera. I'm talking to the camera, right?
To the side because I can't help it. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you have great analogy. You have to train yourself.
To connect. It's about connection. And a lot of things get in the way of that, which is why my team follows along. I'm completely pumped on Fruitful Friction. Hard to say, hard to do as well. I'm a voiceover actor. I still think it's hard to say. So Fruitful Friction.
Oh, I love your voice. I love listening to it.
I have a good microphone. That helps too. So that sense of Fruitful Friction is the concept that we need friction. Friction is really important. Creates traction. Friction creates pearls, right? And we are so sensitized to not causing any problem that the minute there's something that we don't agree with, right? We're like, oh, I don't want to get in conflict, right? That's not conflict. That is friction and conflict. And conflict is over on this side. Now, where I was going to dive is you and I, Penny, and everyone listening out there, you have great colleagues and great friends and great people who have created awesome programs for conflict resolution, for courageous conversations, they're amazing programs. Those are absolutely necessary. And can we just crack open a bigger space for actually staying in conversation? That's what I am completely excited about. Friction is inevitable, conflict isn't, and they are not the same thing. We equate them, conflate them.
But I want to discuss.
Yes, friction me. Yeah.
I think the energy of friction is not positive.
For you, right? Yeah.
For most people.
I would say for most people.
The reason why you don't like the word conflict, because it's just a word. It just means actually, I'd have to look it up, but I think it means we just disagree.
Totally.
Right? So, and it's okay to disagree, but I don't see that as friction either. I like what you said. It's about staying in conversation.
Yes.
That we can have a conversation about how we feel or whether this went well and what didn't go well. And even if we don't agree and you're giving me some performance feedback, there's ways to do that doesn't create friction. I don't know. I don't like that word.
I know, right? So I love the word and have come to love it more. It came from a client, just so you know, a client is the one who said it.
Okay.
And for me, without friction, we can't stay on the road. Our tires don't stay on the road. We need friction for traction, and traction keeps us moving forward. And if we try to smooth everything over, we don't have any innovation. We don't have any co-creation, all of that. When I was working with a client, we had done a day, 3/4 of a day to be, specific, 3/4 of a day with two teams that were doing well and not well enough, right? They weren't moving things forward in the way they needed. They weren't getting the traction. So I came in and did improv and a number of other communication exercises to figure out who they are, what their connections were, how to communicate more clearly, more effectively. And at the end of it, one of the guys, and we'd had some friction for sure, right? We'd have some great conversation, friction that and the guy said at the end, he said, with full attitude, I thought you were going to have us get along. And instead you got us comfortable with friction. And I was like,
that lit you up. You're like, yes.
Yes, right? He gave the name to what I've been doing for years and I hadn't grabbed that word, right? And so understanding that if I separate friction or traction or grit or any of that, the whatever word works for you, separate it from conflict, which generally has a conflict, usually has a negativity about it, often has. You're like playing with that word and you're equating it in some ways, in my mind, to how I would say is friction, right? It leads to good things. Absolutely.
Right.
We want that. All we're doing is separating the words so that friction can have affirmative forward movement, invite people into it, and allow conflict to be over a little bit farther down the path. The other thing is that friction can become a general tool of understanding. Like, how do we create friction? How do we get comfortable enough with friction to be awkward and stay in it? And conflict often is very detail and incident and scenario specific. So it gets specific to what we're solving for. Whereas you and I enjoying like friction, you and I, we're both wired that way, right? Like direct, how do we get it? How do we move it forward? Great. Okay, if we push back on each other, we're going to create awesome things. And Penny, it comes from being a theater person. If you're about to put on a show, you get everybody, we call it table work. You don't have everybody get to the table and say yes, yes, yes to everything that's happening. You go, I don't know if that's the best design for this show. I don't know if is that the best, are those the best actors? Is that who we should cast? We come in and table work is about pushing back and exploring so that we get the best production. So I have always been raised, being a theater person, with that concept that pushback and challenge are helpful and essential to a better product on the other end.
I love that. I talk about the reset mindset, and the second step of the reset mindset is to get perspective. And to me, that's bringing in and welcoming new ways of looking at things and thinking about things, even if they're not something you've ever explored, something you care about, something you believe in.
Yeah.
Bringing it to the table is valuable. I would agree. You get something better when you challenge and say, let's look at something else. And what else? And what else could be possible?
And it's funny. I do a series of, when I do the workshops, I do a series of exercises. And one, I just ask people how they feel about the word challenge versus pushback. And what's fun for me is those words are synonymous for me. Like, bring it on. I even just use them synonymously, right? I did the double defining them with those words. Now, some people are like, I'm okay with pushback, but don't challenge me. Some people are like, I'm okay with challenge, but don't push back. And it's words create worlds. We're back to that again, and understanding that we're coming to these conversations with different perspectives, different experiences. And one of them for me was, I had for a while been saying, Penny, that friction creates energy. And I had a delightful collection of engineers. And one of them clarified for me that nothing creates energy, it's there.
Right.
And it was so wonderful. I love that. So now I'm careful, because I was like, friction creates energy. No, it doesn't actually create energy. And it does create pearls, right? It moves the energy in a new way. But I love working with clients and learning new things all the time. And I think that we talk about fruitful friction being the outcome of being aware of coming into the messy middle, right? So if we're talking about a reset, the reset for me is that if we're having a conversation, Penny, and we're trying to be respectful for each other, we're both professionals, right? And I'm aware that being polite, we usually avoid or we attack. And even those words can be a little tricky for people. So avoid and attack. And we talk about those being a choice, right? Our instinct is fight or flight. And the space between those is generally tiny, right? A very small space. So my reset is, can we expand that space? That is, can we come together in the messy middle? Can we rock our awkward, come together in the messy middle, be in relationship, have friction that is creative and innovative and moving us forward? And be aware that at times we'll get bumped out, kind of like a video game, boop, bumped out into behind the wall of attack, and go, wow, how self-aware am I to go, okay, I'm going to scramble back in. I'm going to push my button and come back in and be in the relationship and the conversation. Yeah, right? Come back.
That's really funny though. When you add play to it, like, you're so playful.
Yes.
Right? And I wonder, like, do you do that? Do you go in, because you said you do like different types of improv, how playful is that, even with yourself? Yes. Right? When you feel the emotion come up where you're taking it personal or something, you just boop, or you have someone else touch your nose, right? I can take it personal. My husband and I actually have something like this that we started. We were on this we were driving from, I think it was Milan to Sicily. It's a very long drive.
Cool.
We were in the car for a very long time. So if we said something or did something that annoyed one another, we would go, I love you. And we would just touch the person's arm like, that's enough, like time to, but it's the silliness that, so tell me what
Yeah.
you do in that to help people to play versus
The playfulness,
Instead of
right? And because it gets super serious really fast, because we're talking about conflict. And honestly, what happens with jobs is we're also talking about having a job, right? And can I push back? Is that all right? Will I lose my job because of power and status? Can the person fire me? So trying to bring that playfulness back in. I even am now handing out little cars so that you have a little car that we're talking about. Can you get traction? Right. So we are that availability to play with that. So the idea is bringing the laughter and that sense of awareness of self. Can we play with ourselves? That video game, I'm now bringing more of that, trying to bring more of that in. I'm saying trying because I'm guiding conversations and people get pretty serious because it has to do with their work. And I go, can we just be aware that you just bought behind a wall? And can you climb over? How are we coming through? Can you just appear back in the space? And so that sense of playfulness comes with not taking ourselves too seriously. At the same time, honoring the fact that we have to understand that humor is essential for communication. And because we get nervous of stepping on toes, which we should be, right? We should be careful of offending people. We don't want to offend people, right? For sure.
You want to come from a place of caring and
yes,
you can be,
right?
You can care directly, right? You can still care and be direct with someone.
Yes. And that kindly direct and that awareness of humor and understanding that can we correct our humor? Correct. I would probably etch-a-sketch that word. I play with etch-a-sketch. Etch-a-sketch, let me try that again. Not correct it, but expand our definition with humor to make sure that the first step is that it's including everyone. It's inclusive, right? Because the first thing is we often separate people with humor, make someone else the other, push them on the other side. And so part of the playfulness is being aware of how do we make sure we bring all of us in? So you and I are being playful and bringing all of us in and playing around. How do we do this? Understanding we're human. Great. It's safer because you're way over there behind a glass wall and through the internet, right? Versus being in a room with you. There's a giant hand coming at me. Yes. And so that sense of playing with humor, being aware, don't get rid of it. How do we get more skilled at using humor to be connected? So we talk also about creating a safer environment, which I know may not have the same, I went somewhere in my head, I'll come right to you, why I laughed. I'm going to tell you why I laughed. So that sense of walls versus boundaries, allowing people to understand that there are certain things I don't need to share. We talk about, even in my sessions, we started this a long time ago. People go like this and they create a little sunflower. They go, sunflower. Instead of saying, I have a question, we do this. So what's really fun is I'm going to go with a stereotypical situation. You might think that my guys might not go along with it. I go, yeah, they're the ones who do it right. They go, the Hillary. And then it's just fun. For some reason, it's way more fun to make a sunflower and go sunflower than to say, hey, I have a question. I have a question gets super serious. So playfulness comes in.
It's great. And we need more levity.
In order to have real conversations, we need more levity in order to have real conversations.
Because when we get caught up in the minutia when we're too serious, right? Our creativity comes out when we're a little playful. And like you said, when there's challenge and pushback, we elevate.
Why would we not want
I guess that's it, right?
That's it.
It goes up, right? And for those of you who are listening and not watching, and putting my hands together, and they are then going up in an upward direction. So
we keep getting teams together. Like you, Penny, you were talking before we got on here, right? Just about some projects you're working on. And consciously or unconsciously, you're thinking, I want to make sure I have people who think differently than me. I want people who come from a different experience than me. Like you're thinking of casting. I'm a theater person, so everything's casting. I'm casting a team to get me where I want to go, to make my vision happen, who are not me. So what happens is, in a lot of our business settings, our corporate settings, we cast these really cool groups of people. We bring on these high player, whatever term you want to use for that, but they're a high performing person and they come with different ideas. And then they get into the space and we don't have the tools to hang out in the messy middle, to have fruitful friction. What we have
put them in a box.
Like culture.
Shut up.
Yes, we yes them, we do. So we have the opposite. The culture is avoid and attack. And so what we're saying is, can we expand that messy middle, bring in the different players? It's going to be messy. We liken it. We have a beautiful artist, Patty Kingsbaker, who created for us this image of a garden growing between avoid and attack because it's dirt. And one of my clients said, I love it, Hillary. I can see the manure and the rotting growth. Like things that grow have that in them. It's not pristine and sanitized. So creativity, and I feel like, Penny, that's totally the way you're wired, right? It's like, come on, get in here, Hillary. Let's talk. Let's really have like what? I don't know, pushback. Where do we go? What elevates our ideas?
Like that, right? And their experiences might have been like that at one time and they got shut down over
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I get it. I totally get it. So I mean, we could talk forever, right? But I want to be mindful that some people have an attention span of a gnat.
Totally. So, including me. Yes.
So I wanted to go a little bit in a different direction. So first of all, I want to know, so you go in and you're doing some training. I know you facilitate workshops and things, but you're also training people to do this, right? So that not that they have to bring you into the organization, but they can get certified. And then they can do this within their organization and learn all these cool tips and tricks, right? So tell me like,
so that's a new, I'm excited because I've been teaching and training for 122 years. And so I know, really, I'm doing a good job for that. So then I had someone suggest that to me, a colleague, friend who's an executive coach and was just suggested it, said, this is great. This would be super helpful tool for those of us who are coaches. So they helped us launch this beta program. So right now we're in beta, but that's just us, but we're ready to go at the top of the new year, creating this program to encourage, coach, support people to do this Fruitful Friction workshop. We are completely pumped about it. I think the world needs it. We need it. Our workplaces need it, right? We're trying to help people not lose great employees, right? Have the conversations. We're also helping, as one of my leaders was like, our team needs to innovate. It's about innovation. So we do that. Of course, I'm an actor performer, so I love keynoting, and we do one-on-one coaching. We work with teams. And with this new training, we'll have a beautiful program that's asynchronous. So you get a lot of the content asynchronously. You get to watch videos and read things. And then you either in person or virtually, we do coaching and move it forward. So, I mean, I'm a teacher and I reclaim that word. I like the word teacher, right? Which means we're on this journey together, figuring out how to use the tools. Of course, I coach and facilitate and train and all those things. And yes.
Very cool. So before we jump off, I also want to ask you, because part of the reset mindset and, you know, talking about it's time to reset, two things I want to talk about is one, how do people recognize, because it's about recognizing the signals. How do they know when to reset, right? Because whether it's putting your hand on your nose or asking a question, like how do they know when it's time?
My instinct, and then we'll have to blow it apart, is pay attention because you're being told. So that client said to me, I thought you were going to have us get along, and instead you got us comfortable with friction. He handed me on a plate my reset. And so I was like, I had to like think about it, marinate it in a bit. And then I went, oh my gosh, that is totally. So I created a program. I'm a Vistage speaker. So I said, hey, Vistage, I'm doing this. I went out and I was iterating. If I had not been listening and gone, oh yeah, that's cool, right? That's great that he said that, and not been open to the fact that I might be missing something, right? Oh, that's cool. And the second thing is that people needed to hear the information that I am talking about in a new way, much more practical. So pre-COVID, I was an executive presence coach. We were zipping all over the place. Like we're doing great workshops, and we were brought in executive presence and how to be a team and how to work with clients. We were all over the place. And then COVID hit, and we had some great clients guide us through that. And then afterwards, executive presence, so it's still important. I'm not saying it's not. It had a different, I'm always a searcher for words, like a little bit more of a luxury, or a little more, it felt like maybe it wasn't as germane or necessary. And so what's interesting is Fruitful Friction is the practical application of executive presence.
Yeah,
so,
I was just going to say, you're drilling down into, if you can have fruitful friction, you're going to show up with presence because you have courage to, I see what you're saying. You're getting to the root cause or the core element of what one needs to do. And I think that is so important, because a lot of the things that I do also is I think about what can they do, right?
Yes.
People want to know the concept and the theory and the framework, but then they want to know, what do I actually do that creates trust? What do I do that, and because people talk about high level topics, but there's not always the how-to. So that's really practical.
That's what we are way into the how-to, and that it's highly individual, right? So we're not formulaic. We've created a construct, right? And so part of the reset for us has been people don't want another formula. They've got a lot of great formulas. Our colleagues have created great formulas.
Right.
How do we activate those formulas? So we love activating training that people have already paid for. So the reset is how to play well with others. And then our other reset is we want others to reset. We want people to reset this concept of being in conversation, right? And what it means to have friction. So you and I have been resetting on friction. Mine's a little bit of a mission project here. It's like, I think we can be in conversation and move things forward long before we get to conflict.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Reset.
It's about being open, right?
Yeah.
And because part of the question that I was also asking is, how do people know in the moment when they're in this messy middle?
Yes.
How do they know that they've shut down? Because it's not like they literally leave the room.
No.
Right? So that was it. Is there, like in some environments, they have a safe word or they have, what are some reset practices that people can, practical uses, things that they can do that they can recognize that someone or themselves has shut down a little bit and take that reset.
Yeah. And one of our things with that shutdown is we really work on people recognizing their own versus others, because a lot of leaders move up the ladder and they start getting so focused on other people, they forget to they worked on self-aware a while ago and now they're worried about their people. And I'm like, wait a minute, back to being self-aware, what you're doing.
Right.
A lot of it
says my people need that. Exactly. That means they need that. I mean,
and they're well-intentioned. It doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from I'm moving fast and my people need this, and then we'll remind them. So the first is being...
Well, we're all, let me just say, we're all human, and we all can see it easier in someone else than we can in ourselves.
Totally.
I think there's also a way to lovingly say to somebody, like, where'd you go there?
Yes.
Or when I said that, I noticed that you stood back. What happened?
Yeah.
Did you take that in a different way than intended? Or, I think you can recognize it with directly.
Yes.
And it not be offensive or, just to say, hey, and of course it depends on how you pre-frame the scenario of and
it matters whether you all share the vocabulary and the idea of fruitful friction and messy middle, or if you're on your own. In both scenarios, you have to be ready for. So even the language around what you were mentioning, right? The tool that you're mentioning is a quick check-in, right? And then how it's the little things that are a big deal. When we take ownership of it, something shifted. I want to check in. Are you aware of what shifted? So what we want to make sure is we don't tell the other person what they did. We simply own what we noticed. And it's interesting. It's a subtle difference because one puts the other person on defense and one is full ownership. Wait, something shifted. I want to know if you noticed something as well, that kind of thing. And so your tool is exactly, that is part of one of the main tools, right? Is an awareness of it. A transparency and name it, right? Name it to tame it. And that sense of owning our own, one of the big things is owning our own emotional response to things. So we are often, if you look at Instagram, there are lots of programs to help children regulate their emotions. And then you get to adulthood and we're just told to be calm. And so which doesn't help, by the way, because we're still human beings. And I have a whole thing about, calm and all that. So one of them is to really, especially if you have greater power in the situation, title, role, society has given something to you. If you are higher up, I know we want a flat organization, doesn't happen very often. If we're higher up, recognizing that if something shifted emotionally in us, one of the best ways to keep us in the messy middle, to stay present, is to own it ourselves. Oh, I realize I just got a little heightened right then. Not saying because that's one of my big things I chat about with people. Don't use because.
So no because?
Because if I do this, I get a little heightened because, then guess whose fault it becomes? Yours. Versus.
Well, it depends on what you say, right?
Yeah. Generally speaking, once a because gets in there versus me just owning it, it can. Totally. Penny, absolutely. There can be ways of wording it that don't do that. It's an easy fix to simply remove the because and allow it just to be so. Oh, I realize I got a little heightened right there. Let's go back and figure out, want to check in, that kind of thing. So the minute we hear because, I got a little heightened there because we were talking about, it generally puts the other person on the defense or having to explain it, versus when we have that leadership thing, if we're talking about the walls and how do we stay in the messy middle, one of the biggest ones is to simply own self. And when we think, one of the big things with leaders for me is most think they're better at poker than they are. So they think they've hidden all their emotional reactions.
Right.
We're human beings. And the problem is if you don't name it, if you don't own it, which makes you generally feel safer and builds trust. If I don't, the story you put on it may be very different than what's happening. Like I could have something, I was talking with someone just recently on my team, and they were looking at, I didn't know that, but the tone shifted, right? So I was like, what's going on here, right? What's happening? And they didn't let me know that their dog is in the middle of the yard barking and they're concerned about their neighbors, but their tone got kind of irritated at the dog, but it was at me, right?
Right.
So it was
that happens
funny
all the time, right? We think that it's us and it's something in the environment that somebody is like,
exactly
freaking out about.
So there's a certain aha about claiming, wait a minute, just so you know, my dog is in the yard barking. I don't not go on like huge thing. We just say I heard my tone shift. It's because my dog is
But isn't
barking.
that a because?
It's because of the dog, but not a because of you. Yes,
right.
totally, Penny.
But that's
absolutely.
what I mean. Like there's a because, and you want to know why, because you're thinking that they're being personal to you. So
totally. So I want to be clear about that. That's a super helpful detail for me. So you want to make sure the because is something not connected to the other person.
Gotcha.
I love that. That clarification is essential. Perfect.
That makes 100% sense.
So the friction, so us being in the messy middle, that friction, right, got me clearer. So me staying with you going, oh yeah, us staying in the messy middle and conversing, I now have a much better idea of how to share it with people. Because
and vice versa. As you said, and now I really am thinking about, is it necessary for a because? And when is it necessary? Maybe sometimes it is, like in that case.
Yeah.
But other times, just saying, I get it, right? So it does. It that messy middle creates reflection, and reflection is where we learn. And that's
totally
the whole idea of what I call reset moments.
Yes.
It's more space to reflect, to take in, to notice.
And I think sometimes when people hear reset, and some of it is, stopping, all that kind of thing, but there's also a reset to reconnect, to get traction, to move forward, right? So resetting, because you're spinning, I grew up on the water, so I always think about sailboats, and we call it, they're in irons, right? When they're not moving, right? When they're not moving at all and the sail is luffing, right? So I love all those words. So that's a very different thing than a reset. But if I am in irons in a sailboat and I am luffing, I reset to think, what do I do to get the wind to catch in my sail again and create friction to help me move again? How do I put kitty litter down so my tires get traction in the snow, right?
Yeah.
So my reset, I think it's a beautiful concept. That reset, it's such a great concept. That's where I kind of went in a zillion directions.
Cross-contextual. So the way that I talk about it is usually we think of it as something we do when something goes wrong and we reset. But I believe it's also a proactive practice that we can recharge, rethink, reconnect, and reimagine.
Yes.
Right? Yes. It's cross-contextual and is very accessible. And
I love it.
Right? So
I've been talking a lot about pre-active.
Expanded the word. You talked about expanding.
I know, right?
So I've expanded it.
Because you're going, as I say, there are a lot of things that are reactive and things that are proactive. But working on the messy middle and fruitful friction is preactive. And I think your concept of reset is preactive. Like it's before, you can say proactive, but that sense of we're making up a word. It's not even a word.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I make up words too. I'm the focusologist.
Long before anything's even thing. We're not even proactive in case we have a problem. You're saying preactive before we even start. I just made me go,
all right, thank you. I'm changing all my materials now. All right, so we better wrap this up because people are like, you guys, stop it now.
Stop talking. Yes.
So Hillary, where can people find out more information about you and your program and all the things that you do?
ArticulateRC.com. So it's articulate, real and clear. And the website is articulateRC.com. And I do love connecting with people on LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan of that. And I'm Hillary with one L because why use two when one would work? So Hillary Blair, there I am talking about fruitful friction.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
it was
you.
really fun. Really fun.
Great fun.
And hopefully you guys all had fun. And wow, you may even need to go back and listen to this because there were a lot of nuances of words, things to think about, right? So please take some time after this to think about your relationships, how you're showing up, and how you feel about friction, and how you might reset how you approach it and embrace it and see it as a way to elevate your relationships and the results that you get. So that's what you guys get to do for your homework before you join us in the next episode. Thank you all so much for being here. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.